All right, ready for a deep dive. Today, it's all about opticians.
Be interesting.
Yeah, we've got a ton from RoleCatcher.com. Their career guides, interview tips, even a peek into how they find jobs for people. I gotta say, the mix of healthcare, tech, and that personal touch, really interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how much goes into it, right?
For sure. So, first things first, let's clear up something. An optician, they don't actually write your prescription, right?
Nope, not prescribing, but they're the masters at taking that prescription, whether it's from an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, and figuring out the best lenses and frames for you.
Okay, I see. So it's like the eye doctor's the architect, and the optician is the one who builds the perfect vision solution.
Exactly. Taking those blueprints, that prescription, and using their knowledge of optics, all those different lens types, and even special tools to make it all happen.
Gotcha. So we're talking serious technical skills here, but then there's that whole people element too, right? It's not like you're just fitting a product, you're fitting a person.
Huge part of it. You're dealing with something as important as someone's sight. Takes empathy, really listening to understand their life, their concerns, and then you need that top-notch customer service to make them feel good about their eyewear.
Makes sense. But I bet there are some wild patient stories, right? Like things people assume an optician can do that's actually the eye doctor's job.
Oh, all the time. One that always gets me is when patients come in totally convinced they need a stronger prescription because they've been squinting more. They think, oh, just give me a stronger lens and I'm good. But it's often not the prescription itself.
Oh, interesting. What is it then?
Could be eye strain, dry eyes, even the lighting in their house. Lots of factors.
Oh, you're like a detective then, figuring out what's really going on.
Yeah, kind of. I have to explain that while I can't change the prescription, I can use my expertise to find other solutions. Maybe a different lens coating to reduce glare, or a specific type of frame to make things more comfortable.
I see. So you're like a trusted advisor, which I imagine is even more important as technology changes. Speaking of, RoleCatcher mentioned some really cool advancements in optometry technology and products. What's got you excited?
Oh man, where do I even begin? Lighter, stronger lens materials, some even self-adjusting, lenses that change with the light throughout the day. It was pretty wild. And the coatings, forget to scratch resistant. We're talking blue light filtering for those screens, coatings that repel water and smudges. It's a whole new world.
Wow, okay, that's what I'm talking about. Not your grandma's bifocals anymore, that's for sure. But with all this amazing tech, is there still a place for that human touch in opticianry?
Absolutely. More important than ever. Technology is great, but it's the human element that builds trust. Remember, you're helping someone see the world more clearly, and that takes empathy, communication, that personal touch.
Makes sense. It's that art mixed with the science. And speaking of special, RoleCatcher talked about some really interesting areas opticians can specialize in. What are some of those paths?
Well, you could become a certified contact lens specialist, or if you're passionate about helping people with low vision, there's a whole field for that.
And what about kids? Fitting a child for glasses, that's got to be its own thing.
It is. Pediatric opticianry is another fascinating area. You're working with kids of all ages, many getting their first pair of glasses, which takes a ton of patience and understanding.
It sounds like there's something for everyone. But before we get lost in specializations, let's talk about the typical career path. RoleCatcher breaks it down into 3 stages: entry level, junior, and senior. Like climbing the ladder, right? So starting at the bottom, that entry level position, what's it actually like? What does a typical day look like?
Okay, so picture this. You walk in, and that smell of those little lens cleaning cloths hits you. You're in the world of eyewear.
I love it.
Right. At the entry level, you're like a sponge, soaking everything up. You're helping the senior opticians, fitting glasses and contacts, maybe even doing some basic vision tests with someone watching over you. And then there's the customers, learning how to greet them, answer those basic questions, keeping things tidy. It's like an apprenticeship, learning the ropes.
So it's very hands-on, building those skills from the ground up. What about when you level up to junior optician? What really changes there?
Now you're not just learning, you're doing. You're doing those vision tests solo, interacting more directly with patients. And you might even be training newcomers at this point, so got to be able to explain things clearly. You'll be working more closely with the optometrists and ophthalmologists too, discussing patients. It's a team effort for sure.
Gotcha. And then the peak senior optician, what's that like?
You're at the top. You're the expert. You make sure the dispensary runs smoothly, mentor the junior opticians, maybe even consult on those really complex vision cases. Basically, you're the go-to person for everything eyewear.
Wow, that's impressive. But even at the top, you never stop learning, right? What does RoleCatcher suggest for those who want to be at the top of their game?
Continuous learning is key. Getting those advanced certifications, diving into specialties, you gotta stay up to date. The field is always changing.
It's like being a lifelong student of vision. But it's not all about the technical stuff, is it?
You're right. Building your network is super important. Go to conferences, join those optician associations. It's who you know, too. And a killer portfolio showcasing your work that can really help you stand out.
It's all becoming clear now, the skills, the patient care, the constant learning. But let's be real, getting a job in this field, it's competitive. Thankfully, RoleCatcher has a lot to say about that. They're really big on treating each job application as unique, especially with AI changing how companies hire. What's that all about?
They're laser focused on that unique application and how AI is a big deal in hiring. You can't just send out the same resume anymore. You've got to tailor it for each job. That's where understanding applicant tracking systems, ATS, comes in.
Okay, applicant tracking systems, ATS, what are we talking about here?
So imagine this, you send out your resume and dot nothing, no response. That might be an ATS. Lots of companies use these systems to go through tons of applications. They're like robots, scanning for keywords and skills from the job description. If your resume doesn't have them, it's gone.
So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it, formatted specifically for these systems.
Exactly. And that's where RoleCatcher helps, right? Their platform is like a career assistant. They find jobs from all over, so you don't have to. And they use AI to analyze those job descriptions for the important stuff.
That makes sense. Work smarter, not harder, as they say. So for those who haven't heard of it, how does RoleCatcher actually help?
They've got tons of features. They pull jobs from those different job boards, use AI to figure out what each job needs, and even help you tailor your resume for those ATS systems most companies use now. It's pretty cool.
That's got to be a lifesaver. Those ATS systems can be rough. But RoleCatcher doesn't stop there, do they? What about the interview?
They've got you covered. They have a huge database of interview questions specific for different jobs, including opticians. And get this, they use AI to give you feedback on your answers.
Whoa, hold on, really? It's like having a digital interview coach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You record yourself answering their practice questions, and their AI analyzes how you do. It looks at everything, how fast you talk, if you're clear, even your body language, and gives you tips.
That's incredible. So you're prepped for the technical stuff, you've practiced your answers, but how does RoleCatcher bring it all back to the optician world?
They have really specific resources. Imagine getting interview questions from actual optical companies or getting feedback based on what's important in the field.
Wow, that's amazing. It just goes to show, even in a hands-on field like this, technology is a game changer. You know what's amazing to me? I never realized how much artistry goes into being an optician.
It's true. We haven't even talked about the different materials, like how frame sits on your nose, all those details.
Right. It's making sure someone feels good when they put on their glasses.
Yeah.
Function in fashion. But let's get back to getting that job. RoleCatcher talks about those interviews, and they have this database of real interview questions for opticians. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What kind of questions are we talking about?
Well, it's not really about trick questions. It's about being ready for anything.
Makes sense.
Like they have one that's, how would you handle a patient who's unhappy with their new glasses?
Oh, the unhappy customer. Everyone's favorite.
Right. But it's about showing you can handle it, that you can problem solve on the spot. Then they have others testing your knowledge, like explain the difference between astigmatism and presbyopia.
Whoa, okay, hold on. Those are both about blurry vision, but they're different, right? Just for our listeners who might not know.
Good catch.
Yeah.
So astigmatism, it's when the front of your eye, the cornea, it's shaped more like a football than a basketball. So it's curved wrong and things are blurry near and far. Presbyopia, that happens as we get older. The lens inside your eye, it gets stiff, making it hard to focus on things up close.
Ah, okay, I get it. One you're kind of born with, the other sneaks up on you later. Tricky. But that's what's cool about this job. You're dealing with the science of the eye, but also helping people through different stages of life.
Exactly. And that reminds me, another question was, how would you explain progressive lenses to someone who's never worn them?
Oh man, those multifocal ones. I'd just be like, look, they work. Trust me.
You and me both.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to explain complex stuff simply.
Right. Be a translator. Bridge that gap between the science and what the patient understands.
And that's where RoleCatcher goes further, you know? They don't just give you the questions. They have that AI feedback on your answers. It's really something.
Yeah, tell me more. How does that even work?
So you actually record yourself answering their practice questions. Then their AI listens to you. It looks at how fast you're talking, how clear you are, even your body language on camera, and gives you tips.
Hold on. It's like a robot coach, but for interviews.
Basically. Think about it, though. In an interview, you're nervous, right? You might rush, fidget without realizing. This shows you what the interviewer sees so you can improve.
Okay, that's honestly kind of genius.
Yeah.
But let's say you nail that interview, you're officially an optician. What does RoleCatcher say about actually being good at the job? It's got to be more than just knowing the eye chart.
Oh, for sure. One thing they really highlight is active listening. Sounds basic, but it's about truly getting what the patient needs, their lifestyle, everything. It's finding that solution that works, not just looks okay.
It's seeing the whole person, not just their eye problem. I like that.
Yeah.
What about the actual skills, though? What do you need to know to do this job?
You got to know your optics, all about the lenses, how they work, how to fit them right. And then there's that frame selection. That's an art, too.
Picking the right frames, that's huge. So you're like part scientist, part artist?
Absolutely. But honestly, you need patience, lots of it. You're working with people, sometimes on a bad day, and their vision is super important to them. You got to adapt to all kinds of personalities.
Right, it's building that trust. But let's go back to the tech stuff. You, as RoleCatcher, mentioned how all these advancements are changing the game. What's on the horizon that's really exciting?
Well, on top of those new lens materials, those coatings we talked about, imagine glasses that actually check your eye health. They could tell you there's a problem even before you notice.
Are you serious? My glasses would be like my own eye doctor sidekick.
Think about it. We already have those smart contact lenses that track glucose for diabetes. It's just a matter of time until that's in our regular glasses.
Wow, that's wild. But even with all that, you keep coming back to the human side of this. Because no matter the tech, it's that personal touch that really matters, right?
100%. Technology helps us, but it can't replace connecting with another person, understanding them. That's how you build trust, and that's what gets the best results.
Like that saying, they might not remember what you said, but how you made them feel. That's got to be huge in this job.
Totally. Being an optician goes way beyond just handing someone glasses. You're solving problems, you're explaining things. Sometimes you're just there to listen. It's about helping them see the world clearly, in every sense of the word.
That's a really cool way to put it. So RoleCatcher talks a lot about the ups and downs of being an optician. What about work-life balance? Is this a manageable career, or are we talking crazy hours?
That's actually something they emphasize. Opticianary can be more structured than other healthcare jobs. It's not like you're on call all the time, usually.
Well, that's good to know. There's got to be a but coming, though, right?
Yeah.
What about those tough days? What's the not-so-glamorous side?
Honestly, dealing with people can be unpredictable. Difficult patients, that's just part of the job. When someone's unhappy, especially about their vision, it can be stressful.
Right, because being able to see is so important to people, so you need a thick skin for those moments.
Definitely helps. But RoleCatcher also talks about how important your team is. Having good relationships with your colleagues, your mentors, that makes a huge difference when things are tough.
It's like having your own support system, which is awesome. But let's shift gears a bit and talk to our listeners directly. At the end of the day, we're all about figuring out if this career path is right for you.
It all comes down to your own values, your interests, what you want your life to look like. No guidebook can decide that for you.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this part of our optician deep dive, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone considering this path?
Don't just read about it, experience it. Talk to opticians, see if you can shadow someone, really get a feel for the day-to-day. There's no substitute for firsthand experience.
That's great advice. And hey, you never know what you'll discover until you explore a little. It's one thing to read about it, right? But to actually picture yourself, like, what's it like when someone puts on their new glasses and they can see?
Oh, it's the best. It really is like the world comes into focus for them. Sometimes they cry, sometimes it's a gasp, but you never get tired of that moment. Like you gave them this gift.
I bet. And it's not just the seeing better, it's how it makes them feel, you know?
Totally. I've had people who haven't seen themselves clearly in ages, and to help them pick frames that make them feel good, that's something else.
It's like a whole new outlook, literally. And speaking of outlook, RoleCatcher talks about the future of this field. What's got you excited tech-wise?
So we've got those new lens materials, the coatings, all that. But imagine your glasses could actually track your eye health. Tell you there's a problem before you even know it.
Hold on, are you serious? Like, my glasses are my own little eye doctor buddy.
It's not that crazy. We already have contacts that can check glucose for diabetes. It'll be in our regular glasses before you know it.
Okay, that's kind of blowing my mind. But even with all that, you always bring it back to the human side. Because tech and tech. But that personal connection, that's key.
It's everything. Technology, it makes what we do better, but it can't replace that connection. Being able to really listen to someone, that's what matters. That's how you get the best results for people.
It's like they might forget what you said, but they remember how you made them feel, right? But that's true for opticians.
Absolutely. This job, it's not just about the glasses. It's problem solving. It's explaining. Sometimes it's just being someone they can talk to, helping them see the world, but in every way, not just their eyes.
I love that. That's really well said. So as we wrap up this optician deep dive, I got to say, huge appreciation for everyone who helps us see. It's technical, it's personal, it's always changing. But that human part, that's what sticks with me.
I'm so glad we could share this with everyone. Hopefully we've got some people thinking, and maybe even inspired a few future opticians out there.
And who knows, maybe our next deep dive, it'll be because of one of you listening. If there's a career you're curious about, a field you want us to explore, tell us. We love a challenge, ready to dive into anything.
Keep those questions coming, everyone, and never stop exploring.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time for another fascinating journey into the world of careers.